doubts. The island of Sodor was always full of jobs to do. And because of this, the older engines were busily overworked. And they were especially worn out when they could hardly rest their wheels while the work is done. One evening, Ryan was feeling very tired. While the Fat Controller was still trying to think about if he was allowed to pull passengers again, Ryan, for the time being, had been helping out on the Little Western with Donald, Douglas, and Oliver. They were all tired after their adventure, and Ryan felt even more tired. He yawned. I'm beginning to enjoy this. Well, you never see anything as busy as that on the Little Western, said Duck. Yeah, said Donald. We even all work too much nowadays, he said. We work so hard that our wheels can't get a rest, he added. Just then the Fat Controller arrived. You are all doing well, he said. Now, he said, all of you can get some good night rest. Yes, sir, thank you, sir, said the 5 engines. Good, said the Fat Controller. Next time, I'll be having you all doing some bigger jobs, he said, after you all get some rest. And the Fat Controller walked away, leaving the 5 engines to sleep in the sheds. Later that day, Ryan was waiting outside the station to be taken to the yards for shunting business when Donald bustled in with a passenger train behind him. He wondered why Ryan looked worried. Ryan, he said, you look worried. Can you tell me? Yes, said Ryan. I've also still been thinking about how much I've missed my old line in my other railway, he said, and about how I was saved from scrap. Donald soon took a deep breath. What do you mean you miss your old line? Because of how much I missed pulling passengers and all, said Ryan. I also feel like I won't be needed for extra passenger trains anymore. Donald smiled. Didn't fash yourself, Ryan, he said. The Fat Controller is taking his time. I'm sure that after you've proven yourself, you'll pull passengers again, like in your old line in the old days. I hope so, Donald, said Ryan. The guard blew his whistle and Donald was ready to go. Goodbye, Ryan, he said. Enjoy your day at the shunting yards. And he puffed away, leaving Ryan while he was worried. Later, after Ryan completed his task at the shunting yards, he came back to the sheds to talk to Oliver. Oliver, he said, you have been saved from scrap, right? He said, and was you ever allowed to pull passengers? Yeah, I was still allowed to pull passengers at the time, but I wasn't like you after I was saved, he said. Besides, he said, there were other engines besides Douglas and myself, and even you that have been saved, and some always get the chance to be saved and then take the jobs they've always wanted. But you must prove yourself first without even worrying, he said. I'm trying not to worry, said Ryan, but, he said, every time it just goes on my mind. Don't worry about not being allowed to pull passengers, said Oliver. I'm sure the Fat Controller needs more time, he said. That's all you need to give him, he said. After all, he said, looking worried, you'd better not worry yourself, he said, or it will make it much worse. But Ryan was trying not to worry, and he puffed away, leaving Oliver with so much worry in his head. Later, Ryan had already steamed into the big station where he met Duck. Duck was concerned. "Hello, Ryan," he said. Do you want to ask me something? You look worried." Nothing much," said Ryan shyly, and he puffed away. Duck was now worried and didn't know what was the matter with Ryan at all. The next day, he was still worrying when Hank arrived for his passengers. "Howdy, Duck," said Hank cheerfully. "You look worried. What's the matter?" "Ryan hardly even speaks to me," said Duck. "Last night he was talking to Oliver, Donald, and Douglas," he said, "and I didn't know what they were talking about. Do you know?" Hank was worried. "I bet it's about him not being allowed to pull passengers again," he said. "I'll go talk to him," he said. But then the guard blew his whistle, and Hank had to go. "Maybe I'll talk to him later," he said, and he puffed away. Later, after he had finished his long journey, Hank arrived at the sheds to see what the problem was. "Ryan," he said, "aren't you feeling a little bit worried at the moment?" he said. He even asked him how he wasn't speaking to Duck. "Well," said Ryan, "I sometimes don't have time," he said. Although I know he wasn't saved from Scrap, but although he has a lot in common with me and that stuff," he said. "But," he went on, I'm still worrying about not pulling passengers." Hank looked worried. Although on Ryan's first day, Hank tried to make Ryan forget about the past of how he was sent to the other railway to be set up for Scrap, but Hank still had to pluck up courage. "Well," he said, "you have your last task is tomorrow," he said, and you better prove yourself before you worry even more. "How about that?" "Yes," said Ryan doubtfully. "I have to complete all my tasks." After Hank sorted out the problem, he puffed away, but without Ryan hardly even worrying. That evening, the Fat Controller came to see the Little Western engines. But he had an important job for Ryan. "Your job is to take some ballast to the docks," he said. They are needed to the mainland tomorrow," he said. "I hope you will do your best to make it to the docks." "I will, sir," said Ryan, hoping that he would pluck up courage. "I'll do my best, sir. I will try and make you feel impressed." "It is settled then," said the Fat Controller. Ryan knew it would be the last time he would not be allowed to pull passengers, but he had to do so in his mind. The next morning, Ryan finally arrived at the quarry where he met Bertram. The old engine was very happy to see Ryan, but had some warning to accomplish with. "Be careful, Ryan," warned Bertram. "Those trucks can be very troublesome. It's not the same as in the yards, you know," he said. "Thank you for the warning, Bertram," said Ryan, "and I'll do as you've told me," he said. At last, Ryan was ready to go, and he puffed on without complaining. Ryan was finally enjoying himself. He had plenty of time to go in and out the tunnel and through the yards. He went up the hill where he knew the trucks were starting their plan. "Hold back! Hold back!" they whispered, and they bumped Ryan hard. Ryan began to go too fast. "Stop it, you truck!" he groaned, but he even tried to plough his brakes. which he couldn't do at the most. "Driver, stop them!" he said, and indeed he did. With his full might, Ryan applied his brakes, and the trucks were stopped. They bumped each other really hard that they felt like they were dizzy. Ryan soon began to feel serious. "That'll teach you trucks a lesson," he said. "Now behave." The trucks indeed did behave in the end. At last, Ryan continued his journey. And at last, he reached the docks where he was supposed to take the ballast trucks to. His driver had no doubt in his mind that Ryan could be really useful. "You've done well, old chap," he said. "The Fat Controller will be pleased with you today," he said. "You've really taught them trucks a lesson." Ryan smiled and knew he couldn't have done it without his skills. Later that night, he had just come back to the sheds when the Fat Controller arrived. He was smiling and felt very pleased. "You have done well today, Ryan," he said. "Your driver told me everything," he said. "Now you deserve your own branch line for your own bravery." "Thank you, sir," said Ryan. He was happy. Even Duck, Donald, Douglas and Oliver were happy. "But sir," asked Duck, "who will help on the Little Western with us?" "I'm not so sure, Duck," said the Fat Controller. "Perhaps you four will have to handle the goods work while I get another engine at once," he said. Perhaps for now, Ryan can enjoy his branch line." Ryan smiled and felt like he could have never done this before. Until at last, Ryan did have a branch line and 2 coaches for being a brave engine and for teaching the most troublesome trucks on the line a lesson. He was now really useful and was never worried at all.